Early spring, 1954, Guatemala. Undercover as an international businessman, a CIA agent blends into the crowds in Guatemala City. Name, E. Howard Hunt. Age, 35. Born in Hamburg, New York in 1918. A Brown University graduate. OSS officer behind the lines in China during World War II. Covert action specialist. Speaks fluent Spanish. CIA Director Allen Dulles has sent him to Central America to find out just how loyal ranking officers are to the Guatemalan president. Hunt reports many officers are disloyal. Important information for CIA planning. Guatemala, a genuine banana republic, is dominated by a giant American company. United Fruit not only controls the fruit industry, but also the railroads, the telephone system, even the delivery of mail. Most Guatemalans live in poverty. 75% are illiterate. Life expectancy is 40 years. The peasants believe they are being exploited by United Fruit. Newly elected President Jacobo Arbenz promises agrarian reform and to break United Fruit's monopoly. The CIA believes he is sympathetic to communism and pro-Soviet. Eager to modernize his country, President Arbenz confiscates 400,000 acres of undeveloped United Fruit land. He plans to redistribute it to the peasants. United Fruit appeals to Secretary of State John Foster Dulles, at one time the company's legal counsel. He agrees to help and rid Guatemala of a president he considers communist. His brother, CIA Director Allen Dulles, a United Fruit stockholder and once a member of its board of directors, is given the go-ahead. The CIA gives its plan the code name Operation Success. The coup attempt will depend on a handful of soldiers, a small air force, and the massive use of psychological warfare. The CIA assembles an experienced team. Under Richard Bissell, special assistant to Allen Dulles, the CIA assigns veteran agent E. Howard Hunt as chief of political action. Objective, overthrow the president and replace him with Colonel Carlos Castillo Armas. Armas is a career Army officer who led an earlier coup attempt that failed. Virtually unknown outside Guatemala, he is an anti-communist who can be counted on to protect the interests of United Fruit. The CIA sets up a clandestine training camp in neighboring Honduras. Armas recruits several hundred Guatemalan exiles and a few soldiers of fortune for his so-called Army of Liberation. The CIA scrapes up 4 overage World War II bombers for Operation Success. Volunteer American pilots will fly them. The key to success will be psychological warfare, to make Arbenz believe a massive revolution is underway. From secret radio stations, the CIA's propaganda team orchestrates a campaign of psychological pressure designed to confuse Arbenz. The CIA broadcasts reports of revolutionary armies poised at the border, ready to invade. Arbenz begins to panic. He takes the bait and believes the ragtag army is a powerful invasion force, backed by the United States. Arbenz turns to the Soviet Union for weapons. In May, a Swedish freighter, the Alfhem, arrives in Guatemala carrying small arms and ammunition from Czechoslovakia. Washington now has an excuse to overthrow Arbenz. June 18, 1954, Colonel Armas' tiny CIA Army of Liberation crosses the border in a few battered trucks. Inside Guatemala, there are no cheering throngs. The army stops after proceeding a mere 6 miles. They wait to see what happens. The 4 American bombers flying back and forth out of the airport in Managua, Nicaragua, have a devastating effect. The pilots, carrying anything that can make a loud noise, including blocks of dynamite strapped to hand grenades and pop bottles filled with gasoline, drop their explosives and strafe highly visible targets. Parade grounds, ammunition dumps, army barracks. Although there are few casualties, the air raids break the morale of the Army and general public. The CIA propaganda broadcasts report fictitious victories by a phantom army of 5,000. In truth, the Army of Liberation has fewer than 400 men and never sees combat. But Arbenz believes what he hears. Totally unnerved by the CIA's phony radio reports, he resigns and takes sanctuary in the Mexican embassy. Colonel Armas now makes his move. 50,000 people tossing firecrackers supplied beforehand by the CIA cheer as he enters the capital. July 7th, 1954. Carlos Castillo Armas is elected President of Guatemala. He was the only candidate. The United Fruit Company quickly reclaims its land that Arbenz had seized. Armas arrests some 4,000 people suspected of being communists. He also repeals the 1945 Constitution and revokes all civil rights of the population. He soon becomes a dictator. In the fall of 1954, President Armas is given a ticker-tape parade in New York City and awarded honorary degrees by Fordham and Columbia universities. Allen Dulles' second coup d'etat takes less than 3 weeks and costs close to $20 million. Guatemala will be his model for CIA subversion on an even grander scale. Next target, Fidel Castro and Cuba.